Greetings, everyone, and welcome to something that's a little impromptu, if you will. I was talking to Jared a little bit about some things that have been happening recently. You could probably guess at the title of this video. We decided to address something that seemed to be going around the YouTube internets these days. And quick disclaimer, we have no connection to any of the channel Awesome, any of the victims or the producers, anything like that. It's just after a week of going through some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And normally we like to avoid internet drama, like the whole Rice Gum did what? And Logan Paul did who? And it's like shit like that. We're not into the whole tabloid or the people make celebrity gossip.
Could not give a shit.
No, that's not us. We prefer just playing games, having fun, talking movies.
Making shows.
Yeah, just having fun, creating content for you folks.
Seriously.
So, this change the channel, hashtag change the channel controversy that recently came out. I've been following bits and pieces of it so it started couple days after New Year. Why did I keep saying New Year's? April 1st.
Yeah.
April 4th.
Around that time.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong with this, Jared. Pretty much, there was this document that came out recounting some incidents and stories that some people who worked with Doug Walker,
basically previous producers for the site of Channel Awesome, then at the time named That Guy with the Glasses.
Yeah, no, that threw me off for a view because I was like, wait, they're producers? I thought they were content creators, but I guess at that
technically
time,
both.
It's the same concept.
Same thing for them.
They just were credited as such. So that document came out, and I haven't heard much of it, but in my YouTube feed while I was at work, it started to fill up saying, channel not so awesome. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I started to watch it, and people were going through this document that went out. It was 69 pages long, which, by the way, quick disclaimer, when I heard about this controversy, saying like, oh, this channel is not that good, I was thinking to myself, wait, did this come out April 1st? It's 69 pages. Should I be skeptical? And I'm not trying to defend Channel Awesome on any of this. It was just me personally at work.
No, I get what you mean. It's always like, okay, it's April 1st. The shitheads are... Yeah. Or the people that take it too far, rather, are out and about.
I was afraid of that first. Yeah. I'm not saying that is the case because I reached out to you after I watched like a video or two on it. And I said, Jared, you know a few of these Channel Awesome people or the guys with the glasses, producers. Could you corroborate any of this with some of the other YouTubers? Because I found a couple that I've never heard of. And... they seemed genuine about it, and I said, "Hey, you follow Linkaro. One point you followed Spoonie, guys like that. Were there any like words coming from some of these guys? Maybe not all of them. Yeah. And you said, yeah, it seems like this is a legit case. So
So
during the week, how did you catch wind of all this?
Yeah. So I caught wind, ironically, a few hours before you messaged me about it, where I was just on Twitter, kind of just looking through real quick. Yeah. Just as I scroll through things, Twitter, Facebook, what the hell ever. Yeah. And I see someone who I eventually realized was Holly, their old community manager.
And for those who don't, actually, no, you just answered that. Yeah. She was the original HR lady who helped run Channel Awesome or That Guy with the Glasses website. Yeah. That's, in case for those who don't know about it, it's a website where other content creators or producers, not just Nostalgic Critic, they can host their content on there to kind of like bypass the YouTube fair use debacle that happened several years ago.
Yeah. Well, the original iteration when they were facing, even before like Soap and People had a name, like ages ago. But so I saw, this person mentioned something or other. I'm like, oh, what's this about? And I read like what that tweet said after some searching or whatnot, reading tweets. I found the two documents, the like abridged version, which was a quick summary on things, and then the full-on big document. And so I'm like, okay. And it mentioned in her tweet actually, her tweet was of the apology. And when I saw that, I looked at it. That was the first thing I read. Then I found the mini document and read that real quick because it's super short.
Yeah.
Then I found the bigger document and read that. Sometimes going back and forth between that apology tweet and the long document. And as I'm reading it, I'm remembering the timeline for me. Because I originally found that guy with the glasses half a year, I want to say, after the first anniversary with the Angry Video Game Nerd and that whole rivalry and stuff. And that's when I started to actually pay attention and when I found everything. So I started watching Nostalgia Critic. Eventually, I kind of caught wind of like Linkara's stuff with his Atop the Fourth Wall, comic reviews, Angry Joe, Spoonie.
Yeah.
Also Nostalgia Chick at the time, Lindsay Ellis, because she was around.
Yeah, so as you guys could probably tell, like Jared here, he has more extension with Channel Awesome and their network of YouTube content creators.
Yeah.
For me personally, sorry if I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
For those who don't know, I have watched Nostalgia Critic for quite a number of times. I don't know how I stumbled upon him, but it was mostly just him I followed. I kind of enjoyed his like little videos on like making fun of old movies, but still being somewhat constructive criticism there towards the end.
Yeah.
And I remember watching some of those anniversary videos, and I thought they were pretty funny at the time, but shittily made, which if you read the document, there's some warrant to that, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
I enjoyed his content more or less. So real quick, I'm trying to deviate. I know this is a very personal video we're doing, by the way. We're just sharing our thoughts on like what's happening here and why we, the Game Bro Station folks, why we're even bothering addressing something like this.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I started to go more into like AMC Movie Talk, Collider Movie Talk, Screen Junkies, and a few other YouTubers who do talk about movies, but they're a little bit more objective, sort of journalistic film pundit folks. They became legitimate critics, and I was almost going to say no offense to Nostalgia Critic, but right now he's in a different kind of boat. I started to take their word way more seriously than Nostalgia Critic, where personally for me, I kind of felt like he was a little bit of a satire on critics, even though he made some personal videos, like when Roger Ebert passed away, he made a very cool tribute video on that. So I kind of like took away the satire from him from a little bit at that point. Yeah. But then it kind of came back to return where, what was it, like the final anniversary video, final one, was supposed to be his way of retiring the Nostalgia Critic character. Came back because people wanted it. And as he started to produce...
And because the new show sucked and wasn't doing anything.
I didn't even bother watching any of those.
You don't need to. Trust me, I did.
That's what I heard. So as he started to create new content, I was like, okay, this is funny, but it's starting to become a little less personal, a little bit more formulaic, a little predictable. And again, if you guys still like his content, that's totally fine. This is all just my opinion on how I perceive him. I just started to notice that he started to go downhill a little bit for me, and especially recently when he did the live action Disney critics. Like, I understood where he came from on some of them, but I remember when his Jungle Book one came out, I was like, I've seen multiple arguments on the Jungle Book movie, and I thought it was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing, but some of your criticisms, all films subjective, I really feel like you're kind of overreaching here. So, I don't know. It just felt kind of artificial. And I just fell off the bandwagon, but now this happens.
So, as I was kind of mentioning, when I was reading through the document, the timeline of people and things started to fit together and sync up with what I know. A lot of shit hit the fan some years ago when Noah, the Spoonie one, Antweiler, left. He has always had a very says whatever he wants approach on Twitter. And at the point, he had an undiagnosed bipolar disorder. And before that got diagnosed, he made some really fucked up tweets to one of the contributors that was technically on there, Jesu Otaku.
Yeah, I remember.
And Obscurus Lupo wasn't having any of that shit. Kudos to you, Allison. So, a bunch of shit happened, and the way it played out, unfortunately, made it look like she, and then people conspiracy theory that all the women on the site got him fired, when that wasn't the case at all. And Channel Awesome didn't really make a statement, which I realized when I was reading through this document, saying that. They kind of had to do it on their own, say, no, this didn't happen. Even once he was in a better headspace, which took a while, even Spoonie said, no, that's not what happened. It took a while but, you know.
So, yeah, there's cases like that. And
everything started to sync up the more I read. And for me, I always take everyone and listen to what they're saying, especially in a case like this.
Yeah.
So as I'm reading, and the order, I don't remember the full order, but it was like Obscure Slupa first, then Mars Girl, then a few others, and then finally, for me, one of the most damning was the fact that Linkara was on there. Throughout my history of watching That Guy with the Glasses or Channel Awesome content, and especially Atop the Four Wall and Lewis's content, he has been an upstand guy.
Oh, yeah.
Through and through, if not the leading, but definitely one of the most honest, great people I've ever seen that made content.
Oh, yeah, no, I hear a lot of inspiring words about him. He's always been the most consistent from what I've heard.
Lewis Lovehog is good, and I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. I have nothing but respect for Linkara.
Yeah.
So when I saw his, after everything I had already read, because there's a lot before him.
Yeah.
When I got to his, read through it, and it synced up even more, I'm like, yeah, if none of them before, this is legit. Yeah. This is real.
And
this is a thing.
Yeah, totally. And I remember a lot of people started to take this situation very seriously, because Linkara was like one of the last few recently to leave Channel Awesome. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was at that point when people started to take this seriously. So, like I said, for those folks who don't know, we actually are going to see if we can provide links to the Google Docs themselves.
Oh, we will.
There's two versions. There's the long version, and then there's the condensed version. Hopefully you can access them in the description. If not, just Google Channel Awesome Google Doc, and you'll probably find it through a Reddit tweet, what have you. So, It's a very fascinating case that we're talking about here. And to top it off, we're recording this on Saturday night. So as far as we can tell, there's no report that any legal action is going to be happening here. Mm-hmm. But it's mostly just over the years, these complaints have been happening. Channel Awesome with Doug Walker, his brother Rob, and Mike Mashaw, or Michaud, I don't know.
It's French. It's actually not Michaud, we think, but apparently the last name is French, so...
It might be Michaud.
However.
We don't know, but we're just going to call him Mike for now.
Yeah.
And it seems that these are just over the last 10 years of accumulated mismanagement,
miscommunication,
harassment,
just terrible handling of things. Like, kudos to Holly. She tried her damn best.
Yeah, for those who don't know.
You tried so hard.
She was one of the hardest working HR people.
She had to work every day.
7 days a week, no vacation time. She was on call.
Through Christmas.
And
birthdays.
For a Cliff Note version, pretty much what happened to her, she had her surgery. Her doctors advised her not to go into work so she can recover. But she was told she had to go in because her boss, Mike, I'm assuming at the time, said, no, we need to talk to you now. You need to come into work. And the doctor said, no, we're putting this down. It says, like, we're advising you do not go to work. You need to recover. And she says, I have to do this. I need to keep my job. She goes in. She's let go practically right away. Very little rhyme or reason.
I have known many people in varying industries that work very hard.
Yeah.
Even that hard. You know what they get?
What?
They get raises.
Yep.
They don't get canned.
And to put a nail in this coffin.
Ridiculous.
To put a nail in this coffin and add more insult to injury, I guess apparently she had a contract clause or fine print where...
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
If she was let go at all or fired at all, she is not allowed to work in the same industry she was working for 3 years. She's not allowed to advise, consult... really do anything that's involved with HR or channel management, MCN type stuff. She was pretty much blacklisted. And pardon me, I was talking to some of my coworkers, like, how the hell does that even work? Because real quick history is, I believe that guy with the glasses, or Channel Awesome at the time, was competing against Screw Attack when YouTube was still kind of new. Mm-hmm. This is just what I've heard.
No, yeah. It was in there.
And a lot of these people were kind of competing each other because they're trying to protect each other from YouTube's fair use debacles at the time when it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
So at the time, Screw Attack was their rival in a sense. So
in name.
And I'm not trying to defend what Mike did, but I can kind of see where his mind was, where he's like, well, shit, we're losing someone very talented, someone who's fantastic and great at her job. We don't want to let go of this person and then have her end up working with one of our biggest competitors. So let's put in a ridiculous clause in there so that we don't have to worry about her impacting potential money-making whatever that we could be doing and not give a advantage to our rivals, if you will. That is what went through my head when I saw this ridiculous fine print. And to me, this is just bad business practices. That's just... I've heard they take that
slime.
They take that
slimy as shit.
They take that Hollywood phrase where it's like, I'll never work in this town again, way too seriously.
Yeah.
So that's an example of one of the horrible things we've heard, but
constant miscommunication, constant bad management.
I mean, tell them about some of the mismanagement during the filming that we've learned about.
Apparently filming was terrible, almost competing to the point of The Room's filming, which is really ironic when you think about it, because there was that whole thing with Doug Walker and Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, people were comparing him to that.
It happened in the past. Well, I mean, one of them apparently, they were making fun of people for wanting water on set.
Yeah, the story...
Which was also a complaint from The Room's making.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jared. I believe it was Nostalgia Chick or someone like that. And I apologize because I don't follow your content. I don't know exactly who you are, but based off what I heard, during one of the anniversary filmings, there was a big battle scene going on, something like that. They're outside. It's in the middle of the day. And there's 30 plus people, 30 crew member working on this. And she had a film degree. She had a background.
Yes,
and
she did.
And she said, with a film this size and this production... Are you going to provide us with any food, Doug? Are you going to give us any water at least? And he just kind of laughed it off, saying oh, whatever, princess, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I forget who it was, whether it was Spoonie or... It was a male crew member on the team.
If I had to guess, probably Linkara. Maybe.
I think it was Linkara, but take that for a grain of salt.
Whoever.
But this is legit. A male crew member...
Said
30 minutes later, said the same exact thing, and then that's when Doug took it super seriously.
So add possible sexism, probable sexism onto the list.
And that sexism, misogyny definitely occurred with Mike Michelle based off what we heard.
Yeah.
Where if you were a guy and you gave him advice or any ideas, he had a tendency to ignore you. However, if you were a woman and you suggested an idea, I
thought it was the other way.
No.
Oh.
If this is what I heard, you can correct me.
I don't know.
I've heard it from multiple sources on YouTube where if you were a girl, you suggested something, he wouldn't ignore you. He would yell at you and demean you for even bothering coming up with something.
Yeah.
He was very confrontational and not in a constructive kind of way.
Yeah.
So...
there's been nightmare stories about him in the past, but no one was really certain of things. This is the nails in the coffin to say, yeah, those nightmare stories are definitely true.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot more cases we can go over, but to put them in kind of a nutshell, and I'm not going to gloss over the sexual harassment ones.
No.
There are some that involve women. Some of them involve teenage boys who are just graduating high school, trying to figure out who they are, their sexuality, and were abused by other producers and content creators that should have been handled better under the Channel Awesome umbrella, but it was not. Or there was no communication on what's going on between all that. And periodically, people have been going through some shit and they just started leaving Channel Awesome to the point where it just kind of became pointless to even be on there. They just focus on their own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
This Patreon debacle, it's really stupid. I didn't quite understand the logic with what Mike was trying to say there.
Basically, what I gather on that vein for that with Mike, he wanted them to be dependent on them and not be able to be independent with like Patreon and other things. That's why he labeled it quote-unquote e-begging. It's not e-begging if you're stopping your content creators from being able to put more mid-roll ad things to be able to make money off their videos. It's not e-begging. It's trying to live. I had a bad year in 2016 where I didn't have a job for a long period of time. I had to use a lot of saved up money. Trust me, it is hard as shit without anything coming in.
And to kind of
dickhead.
To tie into like that shit as well, a lot of these content creators were kind of forced to work for free in some senses.
In many senses. They weren't paid for those anniversary movies.
No, they were not. And if you allow me to say, folks, I have worked as an animator for a long time, and what really sucks is when you're trying to get your name out there, you want to like expand your portfolio, things like that. It really sucks when you spend hours working on something that you probably barely get any credit for, and you're not even compensated. And you ask yourself, was this time really worth it? Should I have spent more time doing something else where I feel like, oh, I could have probably had better payout or better risk? People have become very dependent on becoming content creator to bring you guys entertainment, but if their provider and their executive producers is not going to provide for them and just say, oh, it's just free work, because that seems to be happening in this document. You could read about a whole bunch of those cases.
Mm-hmm.
So as an animator and an artist, yes, working for free fucking sucks. And if you have enough on your plate, enough resume where it's like, I've spent years making videos, making animation, making graphic art, something like that, you are worth something.
Yes.
You are worth someone's time and money, and you need to show them that you're going to stand your ground and say, hey, I can create some awesome shit for you, but you're going to have to compensate me in some manageable way, because sadly the economy is not getting easier for many people in this country. So we got to support each other, support your artists, support all that. Don't take them all for granted. Did you have any last words on that before I conclude to our thoughts on the document itself, before we get into the apology, because that's going to be a hoot?
It's sad. Overall, a lot of things could have been avoided. A lot of this could have been stopped, avoided, helped, and handled a fuck ton better with more open communication and other things. There were a lot of things that could be done. I can't name them all, but everything could have been handled a lot better from those in charge. Yeah. And I will say, I heard someone say about this whole thing, it's a story of accidental fame, random fame, because at the time, Doug Walker wasn't just doing this. He had a job doing something else. Yeah. And he left that job to pursue this when he started getting big. And yes, there is that whole thing of accidental fame, but many of the reports in the document and outside the document show that there's also a stubbornness to learn new things, whether it's technology-wise or just in general. There's a lack of wanting to learn things, and because of this, it caused more problems and much more issues, and it is fucking heartbreaking for them and for everyone involved, although obviously more so with everyone involved. Yeah.
I mean, the way I can come to understand this is Doug Walker, he did this as more of a mere hobby. It was a very personal experience for him, and you could see that in a lot of his early content. Mm-hmm. But as it kept going, he started to realize there's not much nostalgic event to really cover, and his passion was dwindling, and he wanted to retire it. Yeah. And when he claimed he finally did, his fans reached out and said to him, no, we want more, we want more. And that's when he kind of caved into the idea and said, all right, fine, I'm going to keep creating more, quit my job, get a studio, do all this shit. and I'm probably out of events because, like I said, you follow this way more than I do. Yeah. This is just my...
The retiring of the critic was like 4 years after the fact. So, yeah, that was a while later. But I get what you're saying.
This is my outsider's view looking in. He just did not quite have the overall passion to pursue this for years to come. Because, I mean, like, if you follow Philip DeFranco, he started doing his kind of news segment thing when he was in college. He didn't quite know what he wanted to do. Did kind of a niche thing. And as he kept building on his videos and started to report the news in his own sense, he started to develop a passion for it. He liked working with other people, trying to bring information to those that may not be biased or anything like that. Whether you agree with him or not, that's not quite what I'm saying is he became passionate about what he wanted to do. He wanted to create an independent journalistic outlet that people can go to, trust, and freely support if they want, and he's still going strong today.
Hell yeah.
And there's many other creators out there who are passionate about it, who have fun doing what they do, and could always find new ways to bring a modern spin or insight to whatever's happening in the world now. And I guess in hindsight, nostalgic criticism can only go so far, because how nostalgic can you get? The older you get, the less nostalgic things are to you as your age catches up to you.
Yeah.
So...
Hell, that's why that character, when it came back, had to start branching out to more recent things. You can only do so much.
And it was at that point where we started to question ourselves, and this is me saying, well, considering that you have the nostalgic goggles on your face most of the time, how... I hate saying this, warranted you are for criticizing modern films where the verse itself, the fundamental filmmaking, has evolved and changed so much. Storytelling has changed. And whether if you agree with it, like with Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, other big franchises like Marvel or DC, it's like people want different things almost each decade.
Yeah.
And I personally kind of felt like he maybe was a little too close-minded to the idea of change. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with his opinion. It's just I don't know if it was adaptable enough to kind of invite insight into something maybe the general audience hasn't thought of. I don't know. He definitely is someone I don't agree with a lot when it comes to his film criticisms. I mean, like even some of his makeshift shows like... was it Sibling Rivalries or whatever?
Whatever the hell.
Where it was just like seeing older guys bitch about a movie that doesn't really require that much bitching. I mean, I could see why you might not like certain things, but calm down. It's just a movie. But I think he lost his passion long ago. And for the fact-wise, for those who don't know, Doug Walker actually doesn't own Channel Awesome. That goes back to Mike Shaw, who is the executive CEO and owner of the Nostalgia Critic IP and all that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much his job to just milk this property dry as much as he can, which looks like he's quite aiming to do, especially if we see that apology letter.
Yeah.
So before I get to that,
no, go ahead.
Actually, you know what? Let's go to that real quick before we give our overall impression of the situation. So for those who haven't known, for a few days after this document came out, people have been looking to Doug Walker and Channel Awesome to address this controversy. And so on their Twitter, they finally have. And boy, oh boy, is it something. So we're just going to let Jared read the whole thing. We are going to provide a link to that apology in the description as well, so you can see for yourself. But Jared, please tell us, what did Channel Awesome say in light of all these sexual harassments, mismanagements, and just plain out abuse that has occurred over the last 10 years?
Yeah. To use the old phrase from WWE programming, and I quote, "We want to take a moment to clear the air and acknowledge some of the recent public concerns raised by content creators previously associated with Channel Awesome. Channel Awesome is an organization that respects our producer partners and strives to create the best possible environment for everyone. We welcome a diverse community of people joining together to create great videos. For the people who have spoken out about past instances they deemed hurtful or unprofessional, we sincerely regret you felt that way." Our priority has always been to help content partners succeed and provide people a vehicle to follow their dreams. When the need arose, we have distanced ourselves from people who are particularly callous, letting go of significant stakeholders in the interest of keeping our mission at the forefront. We appreciate and hear the frustrations of past producers. We are actively taking internal steps to better improve communication with our producers so they can be focused on putting out their great content. And we're open to constructive criticism, the kind that can help us become even better and serve the needs of our community. But criticism that isn't a means to a productive end does little for either the party criticizing or those in the line of fire. Our focus now is on moving forward with the wonderful team we have and to all our dedicated followers. We want to make our collective future the best it possibly can be. We thank our content creators, team, and fans for truly making our channel awesome. Here's to creating something even better in the future.
I love how the second sentence before the end of that apology, they just had to make a pun. They just had to.
We sincerely regret you felt that way.
We really do. We feel so sorry that you feel I don't know why I did that. Yes.
So with all the claims, sexual harassments, sexism,
mismanagement,
abusiveness, whether physical or mainly verbal. And whatever the hell else that's on that doc, and if you think about it, is even more horrifying, not on that document. We are sorry you... When I first found that site, I found an outlet for stress, a need for laughter,
great old internet.
Tons of things.
Entertainment.
The Critic was part of that. Linkara was part of that. Spoonie. The nostalgia chick. That chick with the goggles. That dude in the suede. Benzai. I'm thinking here. Still Larry. I'm sorry if I'm butchering any of your usernames, by the way. Jesu Otaku. Angry Joe. And anyone else. Everyone else. Obscurus Lupa. Mars Girl. Holy fuck, I am so sorry that you all were hurt so bad. And I give you credit for trying to give Walker some credit.
Yeah.
Whether it's plain ignorance, not knowing how to manage a team well, which communication would help a lot, or whatever. The moment I lost respect finally and fully was Parahali's section.
Oh, yeah.
I want to reiterate, she worked for that company every day through breaks that anyone else would enjoy, like Christmas or birthdays. She gave up her social life for this company and these people. Please remember and read in her section that it was Douglas Walker's vote for her to be fired and let go. He can claim ignorance if he wants. People can claim ignorance for him if they want. He is not that ignorant. He is complicit in everything. I had a sub to them, to that YouTube channel, even though I didn't watch any of the Crick stuff or Brother stuff or whatever recently, just cause support them. I canceled that, amongst many others. It's tanking, and in my opinion, it should. This non-apology, in my opinion, is too fucking little and way too goddamn late. I could say more, but I'm done right now.
As you can tell, folks, my producer and good friend has taken this very personally, and rightfully so. This apology is, in my personal opinion, one of the worst, most generic company apologies I've ever seen. And I'm the kind of guy who follows not just movie news, but game news as well. I've been keeping my eye on companies like EA, Bungie, and Warner Interactives who have gone through such heavy controversy when it comes to loot boxes and box gambling, just all those kinds of like microtransaction controversies, as they say. And if you've seen some of their apology letters, they're pretty bad too. They're always going off and saying, we are listening to the players and we have considered that perhaps doing these things were a mistake and we're learning and listening to the community and want to give the players pride and accomplishment for using micropaid transactions. You know, usual business BS. I'm not going to get into that, but I've read those letters. They're as soulless as they can come. And I thought, wow, EA, Warner's Interactive, Bungie, you guys, I'm not really listening to fans at all. You just kind of milk the whales for as long as you could. And now that's not really making you any money, I guess. You might as well just say, oh yeah, no, we now realize this is a problem. You know, awesome. Clearly, you guys do not follow game news. Your apology makes those three other ones kind of Edgar Allan Poe poems and shit compared to that. I mean, it's some of the most generic, defiling, practically passive-aggressive. You're devaluing these people's claims that they've been sexually harassed, mismanaged, mistreated. And your response is, we at Channel Awesome like to create great content for everyone. And we have diverse people. And with your support, we're going to continue making the channel awesome. Because you get it, because that's the name of us. We're awesome. Really awesome people. Long story short, we're sorry that you felt that way. Is another way of saying, oh yeah, by the way, that's your fault that you don't agree with the way we handle things. And if I know Jared over there, he's still kind of seething mad, and I don't blame him. My original weak defense for Doug Walker, not Michael Marshall, he sounds like trash to me. I believe Doug Walker treated this channel not really as a legit business, but he thought he was making content with friends. And since he's working with friends, he figured, oh, we don't need to worry about spending money on this or that, or we don't need to be 100% professional because we're buddies here. We're going to support each other. It's like, I got your back. I got your back. Whoa, buddy. It's just, we don't need to be super formal and professional because we're all here for each other. I'm sorry to say, but with a crew that size and a network that big that spans across not just the country, but to other countries in the UK and all that, it's a business. You're trying to create content at which you can use advertisements, support subscriptions, various things like that, deals, comic conventions, all that. It's a business. And if you want your business to succeed, you need to create thriving networks. You need to have communication. You need to make sure that no one feels alienated or subjected to material that they are not comfortable with. And I'm kind of referring to that weird robot transformation scene that Doug just really had to have. But Linkara and Nostalgia's chick, I believe, they were not comfortable with it. And they asked him, can we just take this out or change the scene? And Doug Walker just said, like, maybe I'll just tweak a little bit. But still came across really creepy. And I'm the kind of guy who's very anti-PC. Everything's funny or nothing's funny. But if you're working with people who are not comfortable with your sense of humor, then don't do it. These people, you shouldn't make them suffer for creating fun content. If they are not comfortable with it and it goes against their better judgment or morals or anything that's precious to their personality, don't force them to do what they're not comfortable with. It's that simple. Doug Walker was very naive. He didn't know what he was doing. He was unprofessional. He had some passion, but unfortunately, as my cohort has said, it was an accidental fame. He didn't know what to do with it. He was too afraid to move forward, to better advance his business practices, his production practices. And that's no way to create evolving content, because we're in the age of the internet and it's ever changing, ever fleeting. We have to defend it. We do have to look out for each other, but we also need to always keep looking forward and better advance ourselves on a personal level, socially, psychologically, and hope that we can entertain without compensating or losing a bit of our humanity. So I don't think Doug was quite in that spot, and I still don't hate him, but clearly he isn't ready to take on something like this. He hasn't been ready to do something like this, and you can see why. Long story short, the reason why we are talking about this is because we are young. We don't have many subscribers, and that's fine. Jared, if you want to return here. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't care about drama. Mm-hmm. But this is definitely a cautionary tale about guys like us who want to create content for you all and show our passion for games, movies, what have you, and just learn from this. If you're going to create a network of friends that eventually will become a business, learn management, learn communication, because you're going to need to know these tools if you want to better advance each other, help each other, and make each other feel worth it in the end. So that's my takeaway on all this. This is a cautionary tale of what not to do when creating a successful YouTube channel, or any YouTube channel at all, with multiple creative minds working together to try to create a stream of entertainment. Don't be like Doug Walker. Don't be like Mike Mashaw. Any of that. Learn from their mistakes so you won't make those mistakes. Not quite nostalgia critics, but Jared, take it away, please. Any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, the point is, we have a small fan base, and whenever we get comments, I smile, because we can manage it. It's usually only a few, and one day maybe it'll be a lot more. I honestly hope it will be.
Because we enjoy creating content for you guys.
And most of us here have been friends for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And we definitely communicate a lot.
We do.
I guess what it is yes, it's a cautionary tale of what happens. But, yeah, I don't know. I am beyond disappointed in a lot of the higher-ups of that channel. I no longer care about them. I care about the individual producers who I have followed, whose content I have enjoyed, and who I support fully. And I'm happy who have spoken out, and even those that didn't add to the document who have spoken out as well. I am sorry all of that happened to all of you. If they won't apologize, I will do something of some sort. I am truly and deeply sorry that you all had to deal with that stress, horror, and just terrible shit. I know it's not much coming from a random person on the internet as well. But damn it, it's a lot fucking better than, we're sorry you felt that. I think we made our point.
We have.
With that said, we'll attach the Google Documents. Obviously, we'll have this go out with a hashtag, change the channel, which is the movement supporting this. And honestly, I hope you all aren't turned off by this type of thing, because it's not what we normally do.
Yeah.
But it needed to be said as people who are making content and trying to be entertaining and whatnot.
Yeah. And like I said, this is just an impromptu thing. We just wanted to get our voices out there because many of you have. And like I said, learn from it. And we hope that next time you see us like this, it'll be on a lighter note. So
yeah.
What do we like to say here, Jared?
I don't know if I should even say that for this, but yeah. Tune in some other way where we'll definitely be playing or doing something else much lighthearted than this.
Yeah, and unless shit gets really bad, hopefully this will be the last video you'll have to worry about us talking about this.
At least this, yeah.
Yeah, so.
To be continued.